Gone are the days when I might in this context have said whoops-a-daisy because it's not the 1950s anymore. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to words, specifically words that I picked up after moving to America. But wait, let's rewind, because I didn't move to the United States of America, I moved to another country, and I've been lying to you this whole time. That other country is the Midwest of the United States of America. Oh, and I get it, Uncle Toby will be writing in the comments now, that's not a country, it's a region. But it has a population that's very similar to that of the United Kingdom. And like most other nations on Earth, the Midwest has its own culture. And this includes Midwestern people, Midwestern food, and lots of fields. But as somebody with a degree in English language and linguistics and a general keen eye for these things, it also has its own language. And furthermore, as somebody who's now lived in the Midwest for over 100 years, I myself have begun adopting some of those Midwesternisms. Don't believe me? Are you skeptical that 12 years is enough time to significantly alter my vocabulary? Well, if so, belt up, sit back, and let's take a look at 6 words that I've picked up while living in the Midwest. One of my absolute favourite things about summertime in the Midwest is that you could just be ambling along when you encounter a certain type of fly that flashes you. I don't mean that it remains fully clothed. What I mean is it's a fly that lights up. Like actually lights up. This is a miracle. I've lived in Indiana and Chicago, and they're everywhere to be seen. And the first time I saw one of those, I thought I'd casually moved into an Enid Blyton novel. Amazing, I thought at the time. Flies that glow in the dark to entertain humans. And then I found out they were doing it for themselves. It's a bloody mating call. I mean, imagine if humans did that. Forget Tinder. Just stand on the opposite side of the road and flash 3 times for age and smoking preference. Anyway, you might be wondering where this is going. The flies in question are called fireflies. Except in the Midwest and the South, they have an alternative name: lightning bugs. And in case you're unfamiliar with them, lightning bugs are not some godlike creature that can take out murder hornets. Anyway, back to the point of this video, there is a good reason that I never used the term firefly or lightning bug when I lived in Britain. Because Britain doesn't have lightning bugs except at Hogwarts. Anybody who's been watching this channel for 5 years is now clinically insane. But such people will also know that I long since quit fizzy drinks. Fizzy drink, I hear Americans saying. What's a fizzy drink? That was not an American accent. Well, fizzy drink is what we largely call in Britain a carbonated beverage. And not only do Americans not call it that, they can't decide from region to region what they should call it instead. In the South, I learned that people might refer to any carbonated beverage, be it Sprite or Dr. Pepper, as Coke, which could be confusing for a host of increasingly severe reasons. In many parts of the US, they simply say soda, and in the Midwest, specifically the parts that I lived in, they say pop. And now I say pop because firstly, fizzy drinks is longer, and secondly, if I say fizzy drinks, Americans might think I'm referring to that propeller scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory where Grandpa Joe and Charlie get destroyed. Then again, it's unlikely because those were fizzy lifting drinks and it was from an unreleased draft. Sometimes I think America might name its food products by asking its children, Jessica, what do you think we should name this bag of sweetened Chex Mix? And she's a child, of course she's going to say something like puppy chow. And you're all like, well, no, we can't go with that. That's dog food. That would never sell. And yet it does in the Midwest. In fact, puppy chow, which is how my wife introduced me to it and why it has stayed in my vocabulary, is sort of a colloquial term. The name on the bag is often Muddy Buddies. And Muddy Buddies sounds like a film I watched in private when I was 15. You've also got Monkey Munch, Muddy Munch, Reindeer Chow, and worst of all, Doggy Bag. What's going on, America? Next you'll have fish candy from Scandinavia. And that's already been done. And as with lightning bug, the Midwestern word puppy chow is new to my vocabulary because we just don't have that in England. Actually, come to that, Chex Mix is not such a big deal either, which probably accounts for why I often get it confused with Tex-Mex and text messaging. So as we've now seen with puppy chow, pop and lightning bug, Midwesterners really like their food and drink. Just realize that doesn't apply to lightning bugs unless you're my cousin Brandon from Nebraska. But it does apply to this word, pitchin, which is easy to remember because it rhymes with both kitchen and bitchin. And a pitchin is something they used to do in the workplace before 2020 happened. It's where every member of staff brings in a food dish of some kind, and then people just grab what they want. The problem was I wasn't a very good cook. I got better over time. I had to get better over time. The first event, I brought napkins, and I've heard whispers this is the chief reason I was forced to go full-time on YouTube. And it's not really my fault. I never did anything like a pitchin in Britain, which is why I'm new to both the concept and the word. Of course, in terms of the latter, it's quite possible that many Americans are now discovering this word through this video. And that's because the word pitchin is mostly used in the states of Ohio and Indiana, hence why I picked it up from my Hoosier colleagues. And I've just realized that Hoosier, a person from Indiana, is a bonus entry. And if you're American and you're watching this and you're still confused as to what a pitchin is, here are some other names for it found around the country. Potluck, spread, faith supper, covered dish supper, Jacob's join, fellowship meal, and fuddle. And now I'm having a crazy dream in which everybody brings puppy chow. In other words, a muddy buddy fuddle. A few weeks after moving into this apartment, the wife and I realized that there was one accessory in particular that we were lacking. A vacuum cleaner. So we got a new one, and my cat, who's scared to death of vacuum cleaners, thought it absolutely sucked. But my wife and I loved it for the same reason. But vacuum cleaner is just one of the words I've used in America to describe this device. I'm British, so at first, no matter the make or model, I refer to it as a Hoover. This presents a problem in America when you're referring to, say, a Dyson, because here a Hoover is not a catch-all term to describe all vacuum cleaners. It's a brand of vacuum cleaner. Actually, it turns out it was in Britain. It just became genericized over time. By the early 1930s, the Hoover company was so big that Hoover basically ran America. Actually, that was literally true. So I had to stop saying Hoover, which is a bit of a shame because I like to keep my words short. Vacuum cleaner wasn't going to cut it. Thankfully, my Indiana in-laws had an alternative. Sweeper. Well, it's confusing, isn't it? Because it sounds like a broom. But yes, much to my confusion, in parts of the Midwest, they do refer to a vacuum cleaner as a sweeper. In fact, they refer to the act of vacuuming as sweeping. You've just got to hope that Mr. Miyagi doesn't pull this shit on Daniel LaRusso. Hands down, the chief defining quality of a Midwesterner is this. They will quietly express surprise by saying the word ope. So, scenario, you're at work, you're at a pitchin, and you leave the room to go and get yourself a glass of water. As you turn left out of the door, you almost bump into a dashing young British man who's carrying some cold fries that he's going to warm up in the microwave for everyone. That's where you say it, ope, followed by the words excuse me. And honestly, it's so adorable and so in line with British politeness norms that I was bound to pick it up myself. I mean, how can you not love it? It's a combination of oh and oops. Gone are the days when I might in this context have said whoops-a-daisy because it's not the 1950s anymore. Instead, I say ope. I'm an oper. I used to be opeless, now I'm opeful. And I'm super Midwest authentic with it too. To make sure that the other person definitely knows that I don't hate them for nearly bumping into me, I do this face. And then go my merry way. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me today, and let me know if you are in the Midwest and if any of these words are known to you. Quick shout out to some other Midwestern words that I haven't picked up either because they're regional or because I'm not yet fluent in Midwestern. In Wisconsin, you have the word bubbler, which is another word for water fountain. In the upper Midwest, they're all about the word ofdar, which is another way of expressing surprise. A Midwesterner might also ask you, jeet, as in did you eat, as in have you eaten. You might hear crick. That's just another way of saying creek. And then the best and weirdest one of all, pediddle. That's a game in which if you see a car with only one working headlight, you shout pediddle. Not sure why they chose a word that sounds like you're going to the toilet, but that's the Midwest. Anything's possible. If you're the sort of person who hears the voice of people in their writing, then why not follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS? And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. Finally, a humongous shout out to my dear patrons who make these videos possible. If you you would like to join the more than 200 Lost in the Pond patrons, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Until next time, Ope.